Electric Soldier Porygon. You want proof of the darkest banned kids episodes? Pokemon's Electric Soldier Porygon didn't just stir debate, it sent ambulances racing. On December 16th, 1997, Japan aired Den no Senshi Porygon exactly once. 20 minutes in, Pikachu fires off a thunderbolt that detonates a rapid red-blue strobe, about 12 flashes per second for several seconds, and living rooms turned into ER triage. Hundreds of kids were taken to hospitals, news reruns made some viewers sick again, and the anime vanished into hiatus. The episode has never officially re-aired anywhere. Inside the episode, Ash and friends dive into a busted Pokeball transfer system with a computerized Pokemon to find the glitch's source. But the plot isn't what made history. It's the unintended collision of animation technique and human neurology. The press dubbed it Pokemon Shock, and the numbers still read like a disaster report. 685 viewers transported by ambulance, 150 plus admitted, 2 hospitalized for more than 2 weeks. Broadcasters rewrote flashing effect standards. Pokemon paused for 4 months, then returned under stricter visual rules. Meanwhile, Porygon got scapegoated in pop culture even though the strobes came when Pikachu attacked. Life's unfair, even for polygons. The ripple effects were everywhere. Episode guides skipped it, rentals pulled stock, and Nintendo's shares dipped roughly 3.2% the next morning. Because yes, one TV scene can move a market. The incident even altered the franchise's release schedule and sidelined Porygon's on-screen future to blink and miss cameos. American TV watchers got parodies instead. The Simpsons' battling seizure robots, South Park's Chin Pokemon, and those jokes only landed because everyone knew the story that never aired again. Why it belongs at the top of a darkest list, because this ban wasn't about morals or politics, it was about safety. A few hyper-intense frames changed global broadcast practice overnight. Cartoons got new guardrails, kids got safer screens, and the rest of us learned the scariest villain on Saturday morning might be a flashing effect you never saw coming. Deadly Force. No monsters, no magic, just a dumb decision and a gun. And that's why this one earns a spot in the darkest pile. After binging a TV western, Broadway swaggers into Elisa Maz's apartment, plays cowboy with her service weapon, and pulls the trigger. The show doesn't flinch or wink. It lets the room go quiet and leaves Elisa bleeding on the floor. For a kids' action series built on stone wings and night flights, this is a hard cut to reality. The aftermath is the episode. Goliath spends the night as a silent sentinel outside Elisa's hospital window. The rest of the clan keeps vigil in stone. When she wakes, Broadway owns it. No, it just went off. No excuses. Elisa, still hurting, admits she should have secured the gun. It's one of those rare scenes in children's TV where responsibility lands on both sides of the table, and the conversation isn't wrapped in a tidy PSA bow. Broadcasts blinked. Some stations pulled the episode, later airings returned with blood digitally scrubbed, a wide shot swapped for a closer angle, and a snip when Broadway lifts her after the break. Even toned down, the core lands. A bullet isn't a punchline. The intent wasn't shock value so much as accountability. How TV glamorizes weapons, and how one cool impulse can change lives forever. Continuity matters here too. In the next episode, Elisa is still recovering. After this, she locks her gun up. Broadway swears off firearms entirely and later smashes any he finds like they're cursed artifacts. In a show full of pulp grandeur, Deadly Force drags the fantasy back to earth and says simply, this is what real danger looks like. Man's best friend. If you're wondering where Nickelodeon drew the line in the 90s, it looks a lot like a wooden oar. George Licker adopts Ren and Stimpy, slaps on a drill sergeant getup, and runs them through proper pet training. Butt push-ups on a newspaper, discipline drills, cigar-shaped dog treats as rewards. The gag escalates into a padded suit attack lesson. Stimpy refuses to bite his kind and beloved master. Ren has had enough, and the oar comes down. Not Wile E. Coyote bonk comedy. On screen, mean, and held a beat too long. That's the moment standards and practices said nope. The kicker is darker than the hit. George beams, calls Ren a champion, and hands out more of those cigar treats while the trio dances with them clenched in their teeth. It ends on a grin, not a lesson, and that's exactly why it stuck to the network's throat. Nickelodeon refused to air it, citing the violence, even by this show's standards, plus scatology and tobacco gags. The episode wouldn't reach TV until the Spike TNN run of Ren and Stimpy adult party cartoon, complete with a TVMA rating and even a mid-segment commercial fade baked into the master. There's a whole side plot in the paperwork. A leg wrestling bit died at storyboard. After Spumco's firing, Games Animation assembled a version from archive audio, but legal issues around the George Liquor character stopped any Nickelodeon broadcast. Trivia heads log it as the first George Liquor turn by Michael Pataki and an episode intended to precede Dog Show. The "this got the creator fired" myth lingers, but later accounts chalk the dismissal up to missed deadlines and a hostile work environment. Ugly realities that outdark the cartoon itself. Even today, it's still off Nick's schedule, though a Nick Rewind YouTube clip once teased it back into the conversation. In a lineup about Darkest, this isn't gore or a cult. It's a kids show that refuses to wink after the hit, and a network realizing the joke didn't have a parachute. Episode 847. Preschool TV isn't supposed to summon childhood's movie witch at full power, but that's essentially what happened. In episode 847, Margaret Hamilton reprises her wicked witch sweeping into Sesame Street to reclaim a lost broom. The plan on paper was simple: let kids see fear, name it, and resolve it with respectful requests. The reality landed harder. The performance plays straight Oz, puffs of smoke, conjured wind, imperious threats, and for many kids this wasn't teachable, it was nightmare fuel. The broadcast history is short and strange. It first aired February 10th, 1976. Parent letters poured in reporting that children were scared and refusing to watch. The producers didn't shrug. They held additional test screenings from March 1st, 5, to measure reactions, then chose to shelve the episode rather than risk more distress. No culture war fireworks here, just a call that the target audience wasn't coping. For decades it stayed vaulted. You wouldn't find it on DVDs or streaming. Access was limited to researchers. In 2019, the American Archive of Public Broadcasting enabled on-site viewing under restrictions, and later that year, curated clips screened at the Museum of the Moving Image alongside a talk with former head writer Norman Stiles and VP of Education and Research Rosemarie Truglio, a rare public peek at what the team hoped to teach versus what kids actually felt. On screen, the beats are classic villainy. She threatens to turn David into a basketball and Big Bird into a feather duster, disguises herself inside Hooper's store to snatch the broom nicely, and departs on a gust with that unmistakable cackle. Educational ambition? Yes. Age-appropriate execution? Not this time. If darkest can mean effective to the point of tears, episode 847 earns its place. Proof that even Sesame Street can stumble when an icon walks in wearing green. Rude removal. You know that one lost episode every friend swears they saw at 2 a.m.? This is the Cartoon Network version of a campfire story, with bleeps. Dexter builds a machine to strip rudeness out of people, because of course he does. Scuffles with Dee Dee and zap, out pop their rude doubles. The nice versions speak like tiny BBC hosts. The rude ones snarl in thick New York accents and immediately turn the house into a demolition derby. It's a perfect premise with a catch. The comedy leans on profanity. You don't hear the words, but the bleeps do all the heavy lifting. That tone is the whole reason it was benched. Not gore, not violence, just the unmistakable rhythm of swearing in a kid's show. The rude pair roast mom's cooking, flip lunch into a food fight, and strut around like miniature stand-up comics who learned timing in a back alley. Meanwhile, the nice clones mop up disasters and apologize to appliances. The pacing is classic Dexter. Setup, spin out, escalation, and a "what have I done" sprint back to the lab. And then there's the ending, pure 90s contraband energy. Everyone recombines right before mom appears with a bar of soap, and Dexter lets slip one last bleep as the iris closes. It's the kind of gag you quote in middle school without ever actually hearing the word, which is exactly why Standards and Practices said no thanks. What kept the legend alive was how it surfaced. Festival screenings here and there, then a brief official upload on Adult Swim that went up in January 2013 and vanished 3 days later. Add in the novelty that it's traditionally animated despite its later release, and you've got perfect urban legend fuel. In a lineup about the darkest bands, this is the quietest weapon. No blood, no witch, just a tone you can't uncensor once you hear it. The Lion and Bear. Parents asked for soothing. They got a folk horror cameo. In the original Lion and Bear segment, first aired in 1997's Seesaw, two wooden cutouts glide into Teletubby Land. The scary lion with big scary teeth hunting the bear with brown fuzzy hair, to creaking music and an ominous chase. Tinky Winky yelps, Dipsy bolts, and a pastel hill briefly feels predatory. It plays less like a nursery rhyme, more like uncanny theater. Broadcasters blinked fast. In the UK, CBeebies dropped reruns that included the original cut after 2002. Those episodes largely vanished from the rotation and lived on via older home media. In the US, PBS never put the piece on television, screened only to test groups, so most American viewers met it later online. Some regions outright banned one or both versions. The fix arrived in 2001, an edited version sanding off Menace. Out went the lion's thunderous intro, in came perkier piano, doorbell gags when the bear pops out, and friendlier deliveries. I'm the bear, and I'm coming, now reads excited, not ominous. Same 5-minute magical event, but with the edges rounded. Like the producers asked, what if we replaced ominous with oopsie daisy? Wyatt sits in a darkest lineup. There's no gore, no language, just tone, a creak, a wooden grin that lingers a beat too long, a chase scored like a warning, and suddenly the Sun Baby's world feels unsafe. Even performers later said it was meant as a game, bear hiding from lion. Audiences read the staging as threat first, play second. The result is a preschool segment that needed a full personality transplant because the original worked a little too well. One beer. Just one sounds harmless, until a cartoon treats it like a dare. Buster spots Hampton's beer, Plucky eggs him on, and the short goes meta right away. In this episode, we're showing the evils of alcohol, joke made, and then they research. From there, it's a sprint through every bad decision. The show literally tallies the crimes. Underage drinking, open container, stealing a car, DUI, like a cop reading charges. Plucky wants a little ride, Hampton abandons caution, and Buster delivers the pop quiz, DWI, driving while intoxicated. Plucky's reply is the punchline and the warning label, I don't know how to drive. Cut to Death Mountain, up the road with trees, down the cliff with none. The car sails, the audio drops, and our trio reappears as angels. Then the reveal, studio lights, wings off, janitor sweeping, Buster turns to camera. I hope the kids got the message. Plucky, yeah, drinking's uncool. It's a PSA wearing a prank mask, and that tonal whiplash is exactly why this one sticks. No bloodbath needed. The chill comes from consequence. For one long beat, the show drops the slapstick act and lets the plunge sit there. No reset, no wink, just a picture that sticks behind your eyelids. One beer drags the gag past cartoon physics and into a toe tag punchline. The lesson lands because the episode refuses to cushion it. See me, feel me, know me. Utopia on layaway, a gnome offers peace, the girls pay with their powers, and Townsville wakes up singing to a new messiah. The episode plays as a full rock opera, rose bloom entrance, power for safety bargain, a city that starts worshipping the deal maker, until the professor spells out the fine print. Peace without free will isn't peace at all. The girls take their powers back, and the gnome learns the hard way that you can't erase evil without becoming it. Moral sung plainly, you can't have good without the bad, so why the ban? In the US, broadcasters balked at religious-coded imagery, twisted metal beams that read as crosses, a hippie extra read as Jesus, and, per some speculation, the strobing effects during Hear Me Fathers. Result, no American TV run at the time, even as it aired in the UK, October 26, 2003, and Canada, March 18th, 2004. It wouldn't arrive stateside until the 2009 complete series DVD, later trickling onto digital platforms. Darkest angle here isn't gore, it's iconography. The episode borrows sacred staging to ask whether safety is worth your soul, then answers with a guitar-blasted no. That's a big question for a kids block, and exactly why this rock opera still hums like a live wire. And that's the reel. Kids shows so dark they got locked up. Did we miss your White Whale Band episode? Drop it below and tell us why it still haunts Saturday morning. Stay curious, be kind to your retinas, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.